Hello guys and welcome back to part 4 of making bots of bots with Power Virtual Agent. In this video we will put in some basic functionality in our middleware, and also in the second part look into the very important problem of maintaining state within PVA. So let's open the bot and see where we were. That was my API message. Let's connect to it. And you can see that the first thing we should fix is to not send proactive message. Right now our middleware is like a chatty partner who is just eager to talk. So of course, if a user hasn't said anything, why send him some message? So let's go ahead and fix that part over here. That was my middleware. So what do I have to do? First I would check if the turn context activity dot, I think it's type, yeah, if the activity dot type, if it is not a message, then please don't even bother sending anything back, right? So if it is not ideally, honestly I would have loved if it was an enumeration. It actually, let me check, it's a string, so I don't know why it is like this, but what can we do? So if it is not a message, then simply return, so don't say anything. Else do one more cool thing. First of all, while I am loading my PVA and doing the language translations over here, you see on this section, PVA load, and then I'll do some language translations. What I would like to do is to give an impression to the end user that something is happening, so dot 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 chatting icon has to be shown. So what I would do is I would say send an activity async, so the user gets a nice feeling of something being done. So that is in schema.activity, and it is in create typing activity function, right? So this will give the dot 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 thingy, and then we will do something. So this seems to be, let's quickly check it out. If this is, maybe I have to put in some delay after my after my create typing activity, because I think it will be too fast. So first of all, no message should automatically start, and it looks it was okay. 2000 direct line. Now if I say hello, I can never type properly. You see, I get these 3 dots over there, and that is because of this functionality. Since bot framework itself is actually a .NET Core application, so that means it has the same problem as other .NET Core applications, that is of maintaining the state. And why is it important for us? Because think about it. Let's say a user comes to my chat and I present him a menu. Okay, I have the PVA bot for IT, I have a bot for HR, I have a bot for sales, finance. Which one do you want to talk to? He clicks on one of the buttons, control goes back to my bot framework, and I store it. The next time the user types in some query and the control goes back, I do not know that information anymore, because again, it's HTTP, everything is stateless. Standard .NET Core problem. Let's see how we can store this value and also modify this value once the user wants to change the bot he wants to interact with. So the first thing to do to store and access a state within a middleware is to create a Cosmos DB container, a database. I will be skipping that part because that's pretty straightforward. If you're not aware of it, let me know and I can do a separate video on it, but just do a quick search on internet and you can find tons of resources. I have already created my Cosmos DB and the container in it, so I'll go ahead and paste some bunch of code in my application settings. So that's what my code is. I don't know why Visual Studio does more tricks than needed. It tries to IntelliSense thing, the whole thing, removes the colon over here and puts null. I have no idea why, but anyways, let's go do like this, beautify it a bit. So these are the settings you would need to copy from your own environment. and make sure and make sure the syntax is exactly like this. So we need the Cosmos DB endpoint, authorization key, database ID, container, and the compatibility mode, which is set to be false. So once this is done, we need to enable this magic of preserving state. We need to install a NuGet package. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Manage NuGet package, and we'll look for Microsoft bot builder. I think it's Azure, if I remember. Yeah, it's this guy. Let's install it. Looks like it's done pretty quick. Now we need to go to setup and put it in our pipeline so that all the classes, they can benefit from this goodness of the state. So I would say where Cosmos DB str options is, it's a new Cosmos, it's that guy we need. It's a fairly standard code. I haven't done anything over here, anything unusual. So we need to bind it, the configuration. So over here it requires me to put in a key. This IntelliSense sometimes is just too clever for me. We need a key over here, and this key has to be exactly same as what we defined, which is in application settings. So it has to be connection string. Let's copy it to later on we will move it in a separate constants file. This key should be not hard-coded like that, but in a constant file. Application setting and Cosmos DB. So let's go here, it's in setup, we put this one, and don't forget a colon. Pay special attention to this colon. It's not a dot, it's a colon, and it got me tripped a couple of times. So now we need to create two objects. Basically how the storage works is, how state works is, they have compartmentalized into two different kind of storages. One is a conversation state, another is a user state. So any user related data you will store in a user state, but if the data is related to conversation a user is having, for example the conversation ID or grids or any kind of those conversationally thing, that needs to go into the conversation state. So let's create our storage object. That will be new Cosmos DB partition storage, and then the input is Cosmos DB option, this one guy. Okay, that is good. Now I need to create my user and conversation state. So user state is new user state. There it goes. I need to put in the storage option, and then village conversation state is new conversation state, and then we put in the storage option. And once this is done, then we can go ahead and add it to our services that are being offered. Add singleton, we add the user state, services. Let me copy paste this, control C, control V. Yeah, services. I don't need this. I blame this on too much intelligence of the IntelliSense. It's making me feel dumb like my partner does. Having set our setup properly for storage, the next thing we need to do is to go to PVA middleware and start using that storage. And now the way to do that is a bit tricky. I wish it was as easy as it is in traditional ASP.NET or .NET Core applications to access the cache. Over here it's a bit tricky, so we need a couple of objects. So let's go ahead and create my conversation state, right? So let's call it conversation state. Then I also need my private user state, of course. And this is where it gets a bit tricky. What we need to do, let's to actually store some information in these two bags, in this conversation and user state bag, is to use something called an iState property accessor. Think of it as a pointer to one of the key values, one of the values which we are going to store. So for example, over here I'm going to say this variable is going to store my bot ID, which bot the end user was talking to. Let's say PVA bot ID, that is my now, right? Because he will come first and he will select IT bot. The second time the request comes back, I need to know that it was IT bot that was selected. So for example, now over here, go say give me the conversation state, user state, right? And then I can say this dot conversation state is conversation state, this dot user state is user state, right? And now here, so this dot PVA bot ID is, so this is a new iState property. So I will say this dot conversation state create me a new property, because I'm going to store something over there. So any key, how it doesn't matter what key you specify as long as the key is unique. And let's say called selected PVA bot ID. Ideally we should have moved it to a constants file. This text is not a good idea, programming practice, to put it over here. String, so that is my PVA bot ID. Now what I can do here is to say string selected selected bot is, or let's call it previously selected bot. Previously selected bot is equal to await this dot PVA bot ID dot get async. So this way we can get the actual value. The input parameter is turn context. What is the default value? If there is nothing over there, then I'll say string dot empty, or I can also do, let's do it null. And then the last is the cancellation token. Right now, if my is null or empty, the pre-selected bot, if that is the case, then I would like to set it up something for the time being. Okay, later in the demo we will see how to use whatever the end user has actually selected once we give him the menu of all the bots we have. For the time being, I will simply say this dot PVA bot ID dot set async. So go ahead and set me this value. I got the turn context object, right? And then I put in whatever values I want to store. Let's call it, for the time being, I would call it IT bot and then cancellation token. Right? And not to forget, we also need to, in the end, I need to store this set the conversation state. It always trips me that I need to update my state also, and it's not only the state property accessor that needs to be done. So the way to do this is the key over here. I go to turn context and false. That's do I need to force it, and then the cancellation token. Voila. So let's build it. Does it still work? Control solution B. Rebuild the solution, save everything, run it. It also has to be await. Okay, so quickly what we did in startup, we set up all the connection strings and all the connections to our database over here, and then anywhere we want to use the state, we need to get access to the actual conversation objects, create an iState property accessor, which again is just a property. It's a pointer to the bag or to the object where the values is getting stored, and that's the way we get the value. If the value is not there, we sync it, and then we sync up this state over there. Now once I run it, the first time when this function is executed, you would see that it is set to null, and then once the value is set in this code, the next time, all the other times, the value will be pre-selected. So let's go ahead and run our emulator. It should. So the moment the conversation started, did it hit it? No, which is a bit strange. Let's restart the conversation, and I would say hello, and there it goes. Oh, I understand. You see, when we restarted the conversation, even then we are not hitting the breakpoint because of this thing. So what I'm saying is, if the activity type is a message, only then you select the value. Previously it would be member added. The activity type would be member added when you click on restart the new conversation, and that's why our bot was not hit. As I mentioned in previous video also, this function gets called every time whenever a user is added, user is removed, it doesn't matter. This is really the heart of the whole pipeline. So let's go ahead and debug our code. F10, does it have this value? Null, so it will set it up this time. Conversation state is updated, and blah and blah. So if we let it go, this should work. I should get some message back. Oh, am I sending some message? Let's check it out. I'm not sending any message. If you see, send activity async create, I'm just creating a typing activity. I could have just created a message over here. If you would see that the first time I would get null, and the second time it would be pre-selected. So let's go ahead. I will restart the conversation. I would say hello. My breakpoint is hit. Pre-select bot is null. Let it run. So imagine the user has already, the bot has responded back with my typing activity. Now I can say, can you tell me what PVA I am talking to, for example. Keep in mind that everything over here is stateless at the end of the day, just like HTTP, right? So if I click back, it would be, if my PVA bot should have IT bot already selected, and as you can see, the state is maintained right now. And that's the way, that's a key feature over here. We store the pre-selected bot of the end user in our state, and then whatever new queries come into from the user, we know which bot the user is talking to. So that is the key. So I hope you liked the video. In the next section, we will be talking about implementing actually a kind of a dashboard where all my Power Virtual Agents bots would be presented as a menu to end user. And voila. And if you like the video, please hit like, share and subscribe. Your interaction means a lot to me. Thanks. Bye.